Whew, it is cold out here. Good morning, beautiful people. Hoping this message finds you safe and well and warm wherever you are. So, last day I'm going to talk about privilege in this context. The first day, I asked you what is your understanding of it, and do you celebrate it or vilify it? The second time we talked about privilege, talked about using it as weapons and can it be bought and sold. Today, I want to talk about the result of having achieved your goal if your goal was privilege. But in order to talk about that, we need to understand it a different way. So this is how we're going to do it. It is my understanding that everything has an opposite. So the opposite of bottom is top. The opposite of right is left. The opposite of good is bad. The opposite of rich is poor, so on and so forth. So, if everything has an opposite, what is the opposite of you? And what if you want for your children the opposite of you? For example, if you grow up homeless, then your goal would be to live in the biggest house, or at least have a house. If you grow up hungry, the opposite is to have a table of food, right? Live in abundance. If you grow up in foster care, the opposite is to grow up with your own family. If you grew up never saying, "Dad, I'm home," then the opposite of that would be to make sure your kids know who their father is every day. So everything has an opposite. So here's an interesting thing. If you grew up wanting the absolute opposite of your life for your children, so like when you're little, if you said, "When I grow up, my kids are never going to be hungry. My kids are never going to be homeless. My kids are always going to know who their father is. My kids are never going to have to go to school without textbooks. My kids are always going to have a parent in the stands at a sporting game, or they're always going to have new shoes," right? If that's what you wanted for your kids and you achieve it, there's an interesting thing that seems to happen. Your kids will be punished for you having accomplished your goal. But our kids didn't do that. They're learning that from us. So what'll happen is we'll see kids in a position of privilege and we will say that there's something wrong with them, that they're spoiled, that they don't know how to appreciate things. We will, if we have not achieved the goal for ourselves, we will have our kids look at those other kids and talk down upon them. And what I wish we would do is, instead of talking about the kids, look behind the kids and say, I wonder what the story is that they are the result of. What is the story that these kids are a result of? So even though I said to you, I arrive at this intersection with you with a ridiculous amount of privilege, what will happen is, as a result of my privilege, my kids won't know homelessness. My kids won't know what it's like to be hungry. My kids are saying things every day that the words have never come out of my mouth. "Hi, Dad." Stuff like that, right? But we won't celebrate that. We'll vilify them and say that those kids, my kids, maybe your kids, are taking life for granted. So this is not a personal therapy session. What I'm using is the only story I know the most about, my own, and challenging you to think about how you identify with, define, and respond to privilege. The first is, what is the opposite of you? The second is, if you want the opposite of you and you achieve it, are you preparing then your opposite for what happens as a result of? So if the opposite of you, you're talking about kids, fantastic. If the opposite of you is better job, are you prepared for it? If the opposite of you is more money, are you prepared for the challenges that come with that too? If you are not wanting the opposite of you as a goal, I celebrate that, I congratulate that, and I say to you, that to me is a form of privilege. You have the privilege of not wanting the opposite. And there's nothing wrong with that. And I celebrate that. But what I want you to do, because this is the last time I'm talking about it in this context, is really think about how you define privilege, how you see it, how you recognize it, how you respond to it. When you apply privilege to others, particularly children, I wish you'd look at the story that explains them being the result of a goal. My kids are a result of a goal. Your kids are the result of your goals as well. And that's how I want us to talk about it. So that's it, family. Privilege, how do you define it? How do you understand it? How do you stop weaponizing it? How do you remember that cub whose goal was only to stop eating last and celebrate that? Can privilege be bought or sold? I shared with you all these college degrees that cost me money. Well, if you gotta buy it, I will neither confirm nor deny almost $100,000 for privilege. I mean, who would want that, right? So I'm not a lazy thinker. You are not lazy thinkers. And so I want you to think this through as we have this conversation on diversity, equity, and inclusion. What does it mean and how do you apply it? Till then, I hope this video finds everybody appreciating the privilege, even if the privilege is to be in a position to do something about your current situation. That's it. Till then, I hope this message finds you well and safe and healthy and patient and diligent. I hope it finds you warm. I hope it finds you thinking about privilege. And, of course, I hope it finds you thinking. Please stay safe, everybody, and I'll see you next time.